Hey guys, in today's video we're going to talk about how to rotate your chest to improve your contact. Hey guys, Eric here at the Bethlehem Golf Club. I want to talk to you today about how to rotate your chest to improve your contact. Now, before we dive into that, two quick things. Number one, we have launched all of our two-day golf schools. We still do have some availability in our fall schools. The two-day golf school immersion event is really the best way we know how to take your golf game to the next level. 2 full days with us in Bethlehem, PA. We will put the link in the description down below for more details. Would love to have you guys here. If you can't make it in person, that's why we built out cogornogolf.com. It's the next best way we know how, again, to take your golf game to the next level. Really guided learning on the site, step-by-step. Guided courses, we have practice sections, we have quick fix sections, we have the Facebook group also where you can post your swing in and get feedback from myself and people in the community where I can see your golf swing and really help you get to the next level. Would love to see you there. We'll put a link in the description as well. Now let's talk about how to rotate your chest and how that will impact your impact and make you hit the ball more solid. The general thing, kind of how I want to format this, is let's talk about why chest rotation, specifically during your downswing, is an important factor to hitting the ball more solid and really an important factor to getting all of the downswing pieces we all want for solidness of contact. Number two, let's give you some checkpoints. Where in space should your chest be at certain points? And then let's talk about drills that you can take onto the range and use for practice. Step number one, the point of this video, in kind of a sentence, is to say that the more open you can get your chest during your downswing, to a degree, but kind of stock across the board, by the time you're at impact, the better chance of solidness of contact. The low point of your swing, if you want to think about it this way, this is kind of a loose rule, where your sternum points in space is roughly associated with the low point of your swing, or kind of where the club is going to hit the ground. We know if we want to hit the ball solid, we want the club head to hit the ball first and hit the ground second, or have our low point in front of the ball. Now, if we said the sternum and where that points at the moment of impact is loosely associated with where the club's going to hit the ground, we said we want to have the club hit the ground after the ball or in front of the ball, that means your sternum should be pointed where? In front of the ball at impact, right? So if I make a downswing and my shirt buttons, we'll use shirt buttons as the sternum. If I come down to impact and my shirt buttons are pointed behind the golf ball, that means probably my low point is more likely to be behind the golf ball, which means fat and thin contact. If I come down in impact and I get my shirt buttons pointed more in front of the ball, now I'm more likely to have the club bottom out in front of the ball, better contact. Now that might be an entire video. You could start with just those. I could start by hitting some shots and just feeling like, hey, even with just little pitch shots, let me make sure and feel like my shirt buttons are pointed in front of the golf ball at the moment of impact. So if I just chip a little 8-iron, I'm going to make a backswing, and my first move in transition is going to feel like my shirt buttons point in front of the ball. Now, of course, this is all relative to the backswing pieces, and we'll get to checkpoints in a minute. But let's just get the shirt buttons feeling like from here, they're pointed more forward, and chip a couple, and see what happens with your contact. Now, if you're someone who has a super steep downswing and you're more over the top, then probably you still need to learn how to shallow the club first before we get to this, right? You're gonna have to pair that with this because this will make you more steep, but just for solidness of contact, shirt buttons pointed more forward. How forward is all relative. I'm gonna hit one feeling like they're pointed about 4 inches, see how my contact is. Maybe it doesn't improve it. Then I'll feel like it's pointed about maybe a foot in front, maybe 2 feet, maybe even feel like it's all the way at the target. You might have to exaggerate that a little bit. So I'll do the same thing, just chip a couple, feeling my shirt buttons more forward, seeing what that does to my contact. Now ideally, and those are crisp little pitch shots, ideally, and what good players do, is they rotate their chest open quite a bit and shallow the club, right? So a lot of questions come in, but Eric, if I rotate my chest too early, aren't I gonna go over the top? And the answer is no. You have to learn how to shallow your club, right? It's a separate movement pattern that needs to happen. So we want chest rotation with a shallowing of club, but like I said before, it does matter how much you rotate your chest during the backswing, and there are some ratios we need to know. So let's talk about where the chest should be in space during the entire swing. So where your chest points during the entire swing is relevant to the whole idea of, hey, I want to get my chest more open during the downswing. I want to pair that with a shallow downswing for solidness of contact. Let's give you a couple of visuals. In sort of a stock model, here would be the chest or sort of shoulder positions in the swing. If I went up to the top, I'm going to put my club across my shoulders here. I'll bring this in a little. Put my club across the shoulders here just for reference. If I go up to the top of my swing, the general idea would be to have about a 90-degree shoulder turn, right? Even a little bit more okay, but let's say about a 90-degree shoulder turn at the top, which makes my shirt buttons and my chest pointed basically straight back behind me. Now, in the early transition phases, as I come down, by the time I get to left arm parallel during the downswing, which would be from about this position into about here, so the first, like, let's say, foot of the downswing, my shoulders and where my chest is going to point are going to go from 90 degrees closed to only 45 degrees. So they were 90 and they went to 45, which means they've opened up 45 degrees. So when I go to the top, I'm 90, left arm parallel, I'm 45. Now my chest is pointed kind of 45 degrees in this fashion. By the time I get down to last parallel, which would be about here in my swing at the bottom, now I'm looking for my shoulders to be pretty darn close to square, or the alignment would be pretty much on my toe line. So my shirt buttons are pointed basically right at the golf ball by last parallel. And then by the time I get to impact, I'm looking for this to be open roughly 30 degrees, which would be my sternum locations pointed in front of the golf ball. So I'm 90 degrees, sternum and chest away from the target completely. By the time I get to left arm parallel, about here, I'm 45 degrees closing my shoulders. So my shirt buttons are about 45 degrees this way. By last parallel, so my shirt buttons get to the golf ball by about this position in my swing is the idea. And then I'm 30 degrees open by impact, which means my shirt buttons are, let's say, a foot or so in front of the golf ball. In the beginning, I can hit some of those rehearsals, right? I have a stick on the ground. I can go 90 degrees, match that stick on the way back. Do I have enough turn in the beginning to do this? And then I can put the stick at about 45 degrees and say, hey, in my first foot of the downswing, I want to get to about there, right? Now I'm opening my hips and my chest and my shoulders. Everything's opening, boom, to there. And then I can put the stick on my toe line and I can go from here to there by the time I have last parallel. And then I can also put the stick about 30 degrees to the left and match that. So these are just some little feedback drills you guys can use. I'm here and then I'm there down by impact to feel how much you're opening. Now the question always comes up, aren't I supposed to keep my chest and shoulders back and rip my hips open? And there's a ratio to these things. I want to just briefly explain, then we'll get into some drills in terms of how you're hitting this. Think about it this way. If I'm up to the top in my stock model, my chest and shoulders are turned 90 degrees. My hips are turned 45. So chest and shoulders 90, hips 45. From here to by the time I get to left arm parallel during the downswing, about the first foot or so of my downswing, my shoulders are now only 45 degrees closed. And by that same position, my hips should be square, which means both of those, my chest, shoulders, and hips, or think about just my chest, my hips, both turned 45 degrees in the first 2 feet. They moved the same amount, 90 degrees at the top with the shoulders, 45 with the hips. At first parallel, now I'm 45 with the shoulders and square with the hips. Both of them turned the same amount. But from this position, from about here during the downswing, all the way through here, through here, through here, your chest and shoulders are then rotating more than your hips. Okay, stay with me here. Full turn to the top, everything, my shoulders, chest, and hips both turn the same amount for the first foot or so of the downswing. And then from there, your chest and shoulders are ripping open faster than your hips. So the hips have an initial little burst, and then the chest and shoulders are catching up. So you are trying to get your shirt buttons ahead of the golf ball. Those are some checkpoints, some sticks in the ground you can use as some feedback drills relative to what you should feel. And again, you're always supporting that with video. Okay, so now hopefully we're ready to start hitting. Let's say we want to improve our contact, we want to add some chest rotation, and we're under the assumption here that overall body rotation or an increase in body rotation, getting your body more open to the target, is universally a good thing. If your downswing pattern is too steep or over the top, and you just add more chest rotation, is that going to make you more over the top? Yes, it is. What should you do under that scenario? You should still add chest and shoulder rotation as much as you can and learn how to shallow the shaft. You should not say, hey, since I'm over the top, I'm not going to do this whole chest rotation deal. That's going to make me more over the top. No, no, no. You make yourself get more open. You learn how to shallow the shaft. We've got plenty of supplemental videos on that. We have a rotation masterclass, a lot of stuff on the site on CogornoGolf.com for that. You want to open up. How I would begin practicing this is by recording yourself and seeing where you're at in space. It really does matter where your chest is in space. If I say to you, hey, you want to get your chest open, imagine you make a backswing where you only turn 70 degrees. Well, I said the whole model's based on a big turn, right? A 90-degree backswing turn. Well, if you only turn 70 and I turn 90, you're already 20 degrees more open than me. So should you, who's already 20 degrees more open than me, still feel the same amount of chest rotation open up than me, who's back more? Probably not. Since I turn back more, I need to turn through more. Since you turn back less, you don't need to open as much. So it's really relative to where you're going. I would really highly suggest, if you do have contact issues and you're looking to add rotation in your downswing, to first check that you have a full chest turn on the way back, and then feel free from there to get it open. If you have a big enough backswing turn, you have complete freedom to open up as much as you want. I'll say that one more time because it's important. If you have a big enough backswing turn, you have complete freedom to open up as early as you want. The only scenario where you don't is if you don't turn enough back because you're going to get too narrow. So how I would start this would be, I'm going to get my shirt buttons pointed back behind me, away from the target, and then I'm going to get them pointed towards the target as the first thing that starts my downswing. That's how I would start this process. And of course, I would record it to double check it and not just guess. So I'm going to say, hey, I want to get my shirt buttons open, but I know Eric said I need to get fully turned back to do so. So I'm going to make some half swings. I'm going to feel like I get a full 90-degree turn by about halfway back. And then I'm going to start my downswing by getting my chest pointed towards the target as soon as I can. So shirt buttons back, shirt buttons through. And my checkpoint in my feel, and I can even throw this into some feels, is, hey, I know I'm supposed to be here, fully turned, initial little burst, 45 degrees, boom, and then by impact, I should be feeling like I'm up here. I should be feeling an impact like my shirt and my chest buttons are like feet in front of the ball, especially if I'm normally not open enough. So same thing, I'm feeling shirt buttons back, get some movement, shirt buttons on the way through. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. So turn, turn both ways. And the final thing that I want to kind of make clear with this is if you don't turn your chest through, maybe we should have led with this, if you don't turn your chest through in the follow through, everything else kind of goes to shit. If I make a downswing and my chest stays pointed at the ball, how in the heck can I open my hips up enough? If I make a downswing, my chest stayed pointed towards the ball, how the heck can I get my handle far enough forward in space? If I make a downswing and my chest stays pointed at the ball, how do I keep good wrist structure on the way through? How do I continue rotation? How do I have face control? The answer is if you don't, right? You don't. If I make a downswing and I keep my chest pointed at the ball the whole time and I don't turn, what's going to happen is that speed of the club head has to go through somewhere. It's going to go through my arms and hands. I'm not going to have a lot of shaft lean. The club head's going to flip. High dynamic loft, bad contact, bad face control. If I want high rotation, you got to rotate everything. You can't just rotate your hips. You got to rotate all of it. And you can begin practicing that even just from here. If I take my setup position and I want to get into a follow-through position, let's say this is my follow-through. Let's say by the time my arms are parallel to the ground on the way through, my goal in practice would be to have everything square to the target. My belt buckle, my shirt buttons, hips and shoulders. Well, if I want to get here and my goal is everything square, my arms parallel, how could I do that if my chest stays pointed at the ball? That will never happen. I have to at some point physically bend my arms in that scenario. The only way I can keep my arms extended, keep my elbows close, good wrist conditions, is by keeping my chest moving forward. So I would do some swings where I'm here, feel what that feels like, make some swings where I'm only making little kind of chip shot back swings and getting back to that point and feeling like I'm getting my chest and my belt buckle fully pointed towards the target by the time I get arms parallel. That was an 8-iron that went about 100 yards. Let's do one more. So little chip shots. I'm trying to get here, fully square, everything fully turned, chest to the target by arms parallel. And the only way I can get all the way turned through is if I keep my chest moving. So that's a bunch of stuff on the chest rotation. Kind of all to say you need to keep turning it. Understand you need to learn how to shallow your shaft. The more you turn back, the more freedom you have on the way through. But trying to keep your shoulders back, chest back, et cetera, is a recipe for a lot of issues later on. I would recommend rotating it. It's what the best players in the world do. That's what you should do as well. I'm sure there will be some questions on this topic, so leave a comment down below. Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. If you liked the video, please do us a favor, click the like button down below. Click the notification bell. Also, please subscribe if you haven't. Another reminder, every Monday we are here live at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Rapid Fire Golf. Would love to see you guys here.